Hello once again, this is Uncle Jimmy with Jimmy's Train Station and Travel Adventures, and today I am in Indiana, Pennsylvania on another adventure. I'm standing on what's known as Vinegar Hill, and I'll show you. It sits up on top of Indiana, Pennsylvania in the town, up the staircase. Now what's famous about this town, Indiana, Pennsylvania, it was the hometown of the famous Hollywood actor Jimmy Stewart, that played in such wonderful films as It's a Wonderful Life. He was born and raised in this town, and his father ran a hardware store here in town. So we'll look around and see all the sights. So follow me on this adventure as we explore Indiana, Pennsylvania, and the hometown of Jimmy Stewart. Follow me. On top of Vinegar Hill here, there's a plaque, and it reads Vinegar Hill, the name long associated with the slight promontory above Indiana, related to both an old apple orchard once on the site and visually similar to a famous battle site of the Irish Rebellion. Legendary film icon and military hero James Stewart, who was born in 1908 and died in 1997, was raised in the red brick house at the top of the steps. Stewart and his father regularly used the stairs to reach the family hardware store. Stewart received an Oscar for his role in the Philadelphia Story. He flew 20 combat missions during World War II, retired as a brigadier general, and was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award in 1985. So we'll go up to the top of the stairs here and see the home where Jimmy Stewart was raised as a boy. And this is the house here that he lived in. Now, I believe he was born on another spot, which the house no longer stands, but this is the house that he was raised in as a boy, and his parents lived here until they died in the 1960s. So we'll take a look around the home here. It's a nice home for the time, but yeah, this is the house and the home that Jimmy Stewart was raised in and lived in with his parents and brothers and sisters. And as we walk down here away from the house, there is one street in town here, and it's named after Jimmy Stewart. And it's an alleyway here, and it's called Jimmy Stewart. And it's an alleyway, it goes both ways here down into town. But again, I wanted to show you the home that he lived at with his parents and brothers and sisters. And it's a known fact that Jimmy did come back to town quite a bit to visit his family, and he was a general in the military and flew 20 World War II missions, And he did have his own pilot license, and drove a small plane and flew it back and forth from California to the airport here in Indiana to visit his folks and family and friends. And we will be going to some other things to do with Jimmy Stewart, and so follow me, and I hope you enjoy this adventure. I did want to give you a little background on Jimmy Stewart. So I've copied some stuff off, and I'm going to read to you. This is off Wikipedia. James Maitland Stewart, born May 20th, 1908, died July 2nd, 1997. He was an American actor and military pilot, known for his distinctive drawl and everyman screen personality. Stewart's film career spanned 80 films from 1935 to 1991. With a strong morality, he portrayed both on and off the screen. He hypnotized the American ideal in the mid-20th century. In 1999, the American Film Institute ranked him third on the list of the greatest American actors. Male actors, that is. He was born and raised here in Indiana, Pennsylvania. Stewart started acting while at Princeton University after graduating in 1932. He began a career as a stage actor, appearing on Broadway and summer stock productions. In 1935, he landed his first supporting role in a movie, and in 1938, he had a breakthrough in Frank Capra's assembled comedy, You Can't Take It With You. The following year, Stewart garnered his first of 5 Academy Award nominations for his portrayal of the idealized and virtuous voice of reason who becomes a senator at Capra's Mr. Smith Goes to Washington in 1939. He won an Academy Award for Best Actor, the only competitive Oscar of his career, for his work in the comedy The Philadelphia Story in 1940, which also starred Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. Stewart's first post-war role was as George Bailey in Capra's It's a Wonderful Life in 1946. And I believe that's the film that he's most noted for and remembered for, is It's a Wonderful Life. Although the film was not a major success upon release, he earned an Oscar nomination, and the film has become a Christmas classic, as well as one of the most well-known roles. In the 1950s, Stewart played darker, more morally ambitious characters in movies directed by Anthony Mann, including Winchester 73, 1950, The Glenn Miller Story in 1954, The Naked Spur, 1953, and Alfred Hitchcock in Rope in 1948, Rear Window, 1954, The Man Who Knew Too Much in 1956, and Vertigo in 1958. His other films in the 1950s included the Broadway adaptation Harvey in 1950 and the courtroom drama Anthony of a Murder, 1959, both of which landed him Oscar nominations. For the latter, he won the Volley Cup for Best Actor from the Venice Film Festival. He was one of the most popular film stars of the 1950s, with most of his films becoming box office success. Stewart's later westerns included The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance in 1962 with John Wayne and Cheyenne Autumn, 1964, both directed by John Ford. He appeared in many popular family comedies during the 1960s and brief ventures into television acting. Stewart semi-retired in the 1980s. He received many honorary awards, including an Academy Honorary Award and the Presidential Medal of Freedom, both in 1985. Stewart remained unmarried until his 40s and was dubbed the Great American Bachelor by the press. In 1949, he married former model Gloria Hattrick McLean. They had twin daughters, and he adopted her 2 sons from her previous marriage. The marriage lasted until McLean's death in 1994. Stewart died of a pulmonary embolism 3 years later. So that gives you a little background of Jimmy Stewart. And we are going to go to a museum here. It's in the public library here. and is dedicated to Jimmy Stewart and has some items that belong to Jimmy Stewart, and we'll learn more about his early life. So follow me on this adventure. And here we are at the Indiana County Courthouse, and there's a statue here, bronze statue of James Stewart, dedicated May 21st, 1983, on the occasion of Jimmy's 75th birthday celebration. And I believe he was here for that. And here's the statue. And here's the plaque. So I believe the museum is right here at the public library. So we're going to go check it out and see what they have to offer. So follow me on this adventure. So we're here at the Jimmy Stewart Museum. It's on the 3rd floor of the library here in Indiana, Pennsylvania. They got a mural here on the wall that's really cool, painted, of Jimmy Stewart. And Jimmy Stewart Museum. So they do have a website, www.jimmy.org. So follow me on this adventure. So the museum was nice enough to let me film inside, so I'm going to film a little bit. I'm not going to film all of it because if you ever get a chance to come, I want you to come and experience it for yourself. And they also gave me a brochure of sites here in town of different things to do with Jimmy Stewart. So I appreciate they did that, and I gave them one of my cards so they could check out the video themselves. And here we've got some things from his dad's hardware store, which Jimmy was known to help out a lot in his dad's hardware store. And the way I understand it is his dad always expected him to come home from California and quit acting and come back and eventually take over the hardware store. But his dad didn't quite understand the whole Hollywood thing, and not knowing that he would never do that. And he at one time he thought about giving up acting, but he stuck with it and become one of the top 3 American male actors in the United States. But that's a picture of him and his dad there at the hardware store here in town, which we'll go to the location of that. Some stuff that they had from the hardware store, little examples of what they sold, different things. So like I said, I'm not going to film the whole museum, just a couple parts of it. So follow me on this adventure. So here's a couple of his uniforms from the Air Force. This is his fighter pilot suit that he wore in World War II. And there's a picture of Jimmy up there in the corner. And like I said, he came out of the Air Force as a brigadier general. Here's his dress uniform. All the ribbons he had. And his officer's uniform. And then another fighter pilot uniform. Brigadier General Stewart, it says. The 325th Fighter Interceptor Squadron was what unit he was in. So I wanted to share that with you. We're going to film just a few more things here in the museum before we move on to other things. So follow me. I definitely wanted to film this for you. This is the actual bed of Jimmy Stewart when he was living with his parents. He had a love for aviation, as you can see, before he even joined the military as a fighter pilot. Old time record player. There's a nice portrait there of the home that I showed you earlier that he grew up in. Here's a picture of him lying in the same bed when he was home visiting. Same bed. Some of his personal items. So I wanted to share that. I didn't share his home California office and a few other things. I don't want to film a whole lot because I promised the museum I wouldn't. So follow me on this adventure. We're in the hallway of the Hollywood part of his career. Some of his movie posters. All the movies he did. This being my favorite. It's a Wonderful Life. I definitely want to check out some of his other movies. I haven't seen a lot of them, I'll be honest, but I want to see Harvey for sure, and I heard the Philadelphia story is really good. And there's a actual 35mm camera that they would use in Hollywood. So I hope you're enjoying this. So follow me. They actually have a theater where they show matinees of Jimmy Stewart movies every day at 1 o'clock. But I sure hope you're enjoying this. I am. It's very interesting. And we'll hit some other sites to see. And this is all I'm going to show the museum because, like I said, I promised I wouldn't show everything. So I respect the museum for letting me film. So follow me on this adventure as we explore Jimmy Stewart's hometown in Indiana, Pennsylvania. So what's cool is here in town at the crosswalks, they have Jimmy Stewart's voice. I'll play it for you once it comes on here. It's pretty cool, but it's actually not Jimmy Stewart. It's actually Rich Little, the comedian, imitating Jimmy Stewart, but he sounds just like him. So this is really neat, folks. If you ever get a chance to come to Indiana, Pennsylvania and check out his hometown, there's a lot to see that has a lot to do with him. I'm going to show you a few more things before we leave the area. I plan on showing you his airplane, which is located at the airport. I want to go to his parents' and his sister's grave, and we might go check out the church that he went to as a boy, and his grandparents' home, which was his dad's grandparents. Right up the street here, right there on the corner where that big brick building is where the hardware store once stood when that was the second location, but that's where it stood, right there on the corner there where that building is, the big red tall brick building.
This is Jimmy Stewart. North 9th Street walk sign is on to cross North 9th Street. Take your time. This is Jimmy Stewart. North 9th Street walk sign is on to cross North 9th. 11, 10.
That's pretty cool, folks, that they actually have his voice for the crosswalks in town. But yeah, so we are going to get back in the car and go down the road here and visit a few more sites before we leave the area. We might stop and get some lunch and see what we can see. So follow me on this adventure. So before we continue on, I did get a couple souvenirs from the gift shop. Like I said, I'd like to see some more of his movies. So I bought two of his movies. I bought Harvey, which is a classic, and I've never seen it. I'm surprised I haven't seen it. If I have, I don't remember it. So I bought it, and then I bought one of his westerns here, A Bend of the River, that's starring him, Julia Adams, and Rock Hudson, which looks like a pretty good western. So Bend in the River it's called. So I figured I'd check out one of his westerns and the classic Harvey, and I believe at home I do own It's a Wonderful Life. So next we're going to go down the street and try to find the church that him and his parents attended. And right across the street close to the church is his like I said, grandparents, Jimmy's grandfather, James Maitland Stewart, which he was named after. It's his dad's father, and so his paternal grandparents. So follow me on this adventure. So this is the church that Jimmy Stewart went to as a child and with his parents. It's called the Calvary Presbyterian Church. Nice big church. It says that it was established in 1807 as the first Presbyterian church. The Victorian Electric Building was completed in 1906 and originally had a steeple atop the northwest tower, which is right there's the tower. It says, but it was removed in 1966. In 1959, the congregation changed its name to Calvary Church because the split between two branches of the Presbyterians had left two first churches standing side by side in Indiana. The Stewart family sat near the front of the right side of the center aisle facing the pulpit. Both Alex and Bessie were members of the choir, which is his brother and sister, and Jimmy attributed his values to the teaching of his parents, his grandparents, and Reverend Dr. Frederick Hennett, who was pastor of the First Presbyterian, while Reverend Dr. Frederick Hennett, who was the pastor, and Jimmy was growing up. Jimmy continued to attend church services most of his adult life and married Gloria McLean in the Brentwood Presbyterian Church in Los Angeles, California on August the 9th, 1949. So that is the church him and his parents attended, and he is also buried in California. So I thought I'd share that with you. I'm going to try to find his parents or grandparents' house and show you that too. And then I'm going to take you to the airport and show you his personal plane that he flew from California back here to Indiana to visit. And then our final stop will be at the Greenwood Cemetery where his parents and sister is buried. So follow me on this adventure. So this is the house that his grandparents lived in here, and it's on 120 let's see, what's the address here? 120 South 7th Street here in Indiana, Pennsylvania. It's now an attorney's office, but I'm driving by it right now, and this was his grandparents' home. So, you know, from looking at his grandparents' home and his parents' home, they were pretty good, well off. They were probably a upper middle class family at the time. So, but this is the home right here of his grandparents. So the next place we'll be going to is the airport and seeing Jimmy's plane, his own personal plane that he would fly from California back and forth to Indiana here to visit his family and friends. So follow me on this adventure. We're now outside of Indiana, Pennsylvania, about 2 miles, and we're at the Indiana County Jimmy Stewart Airport, named after Jimmy Stewart. And this is the airport that he would fly in to from California in his own personal plane to visit his family and friends. Now here, what's interesting is they have Jimmy Stewart's personal 1961 Cessna 310 airplane, which is mounted as a wind vane here at the airport in 2020, right at the beginning there of the pandemic of the COVID. So I want to show you that, and then we're going to head to the cemetery, to Greenwood Cemetery, and pay our respects to his parents and sister who's buried there and here in Indiana. So before we do that, I wanted to show you his plane. It's right here, and it's mounted, and it does move on a pedestal. And this is Jimmy Stewart's personal plane that he would fly from California to Indiana in. I'll try to get some different views of it. The number was N6775X was his personal number for his plane. So that's pretty cool that they actually have his personal plane here that he would fly in and out of California in. So I hope you're enjoying this blog of Jimmy Stewart. I'd ask if you please like this video and give it a thumbs up, and feel free to comment or put suggestions of other things you'd like to see in the future. But if you're watching this and you haven't already, I ask you to please subscribe to my channel. It only helps it grow, and I love doing this. And I'm not in it for the subscribers, and I'm not in it for the money. Personally, I get a kick out of filming stuff like this and enjoy it. It's a hobby of mine. I'm glad there's YouTube, but I certainly appreciate you doing that, subscribing to my channel. It helps me grow. So follow me on this adventure as we continue on, and next stop and our last stop will be the Greenwood Cemetery to pay our respects to his parents and sisters. So follow me. So we're at our final stop here in the cemetery in Indiana, Pennsylvania, and this is the grave of Jimmy Stewart, the actor's father and mother, and one of his sisters. This was Alexander M. Stewart, the one that ran the hardware store. He was born May 19th, 1872, and died December 28th, 1961. It says, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." So that's Jimmy Stewart's father's grave, and his mother's grave's right here. Elizabeth Jackson Stewart, born March 16th, 1874, died August 2nd, 1953. "O love that will not let go, I rest my weary soul in thee." So this is the graves of his mother and father. And over here we have one of his sisters, which is Virginia Stewart Turnoff, born 1916, died in 1972. And he does have another sister named Mary, and I believe she's buried somewhere else, or maybe she's buried in the cemetery here. I'm not sure. Now, I'm not sure if one of the sisters is an artist, a famous artist of Jimmy Stewart, and I can't remember if it's Virginia or Mary. I believe it was Mary. It is. And so yeah, wanted to show you this. This is the grave of his mother and father. They're buried right here in Indiana, Pennsylvania. I believe his great-grandparents are also buried here, and he fought in the Civil War. His great-grandfather, which is his paternal grandfather, is also buried. There's a lot of Stewarts. There's that big monument right over there is a Stewart. A lot of Stewarts buried in here. I believe a lot of it is his family. As a matter of fact, there's a Stewart right across over there behind that pine tree is a monument that says Stewart. So by everywhere you look, there's Stewarts. So I believe a lot of it is his ancestors. So again, I hope you've enjoyed this vlog today on Jimmy Stewart's hometown in Indiana, Pennsylvania. I sure have enjoyed it. He was a good actor, great actor. I remember him in the Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life. That's really the only, I might have seen Harvey when I was younger, but I can't remember. So I did buy those two movies. I'm gonna enjoy watching those when I get time. But in the meantime, if you're watching this, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to comment, leave suggestions of other things you'd like to see in the future. Till then, go out and have your own adventures and enjoy life. This is Uncle Jimmy with Jimmy's Train Station and Travel Adventures. Till next time, goodbye.